This time at Quick Speed Shop, I'm back in the shop working on my 37 Ford. We're doing a flathead conversion from 60 horsepower to 100 horsepower 59AB. Doing a lot of cleanup and restoration along the way, so if you like 37 Fords, old flatheads, and old Ford hot rods, this video is for you. I'm a professional, don't try this at home. Alright, welcome back to the Quick Speed Shop. I'm working on the 37 Ford once again today. I think I'm going to play around with the wiring harness, and I've got a brand new harness for the dash on out to under the hood, and I got a new wiring headlight harness. The original wiring in this car is absolutely atrocious. It's a fire hazard, it's nasty, so we're going to get rid of all that and put a brand new Reproduction harness in the car. And let's take a look at the parts right now. So I ordered up a Reproduction harness from C.W. Moss Ford Parts. It comes with these diagrams here to show you what's going on. And right here I've got the dash/engine harness here, and I've got the headlight harness here, which has the headlight switch, which is on the bottom of the steering column. And I didn't realize it because I didn't open this until now, until I wanted to do the video, but these little connectors here where the wires go together, there's little rubberized female connectors, double female connectors like this. And apparently, I thought that one harness would be male, one would be female, but it's not that way. You actually need these, and I don't have any, so I got to order those now. But what I can do is I can string the harness all in the car and get it ready to plug in, and then just order a bunch of these. A pack of them is like $8. I'll get a bunch of these connectors, and then I'll just stab the wires together. They're all color-coded. Now this is a original style, OEM style harness with a cloth-covered wire. But the wires inside the cloth are THHN, or like plastic coated modern style automotive wire, and then they put the cloth jacket on the outside of it. Now, this harness is pretty expensive. It's like $300 for what you're looking at here, which doesn't seem like very much, but since the car is pretty much original, I wanted to have the original style wiring harness. You can get a much cheaper aftermarket harness, especially if you converted to like 12 volts. With a modern style fuse panel and modern style uncoated wires, but then the car wouldn't really look original under the hood or anything. So since I'm keeping it 6 volts and original looking car, I'm going to put the original harness in it, even if it's more money. So over here in the car, you can see the original harness here. Here's some of them connectors, and you can just see how atrocious the harness is. Everything's bare. So I've already got the headlight harness stripped across, and I painted the front cross member last time. I pulled the headlight harness out here. You can see just how bad things were. All the wires were frayed. Here's the headlight connections. They were frayed right off to nothing. It's been all taped up here. This is probably all frayed right down to nothing. Even here, the generator cutout wire and the ignition coil wire are all frayed. Complete garbage. So what I got to do is fish this through the cowl. I've got a new rubber grommet to go through the firewall. You can see this is original Ford rubber, all deteriorated. I got a vacuum line for the vacuum wipers, and also got a temperature sending unit for the original gauge in the dash, which is broken. The gauge does not work, so I've got an aftermarket temperature gauge I'm going to be installing in the car. But the first thing I do, get this wiring cut free, pull it through the firewall into the dash, and I can string the new one through the firewall, through the new grommet, and get it laid out here. And then we'll go under the dash, and I'll hook it up under there, and then just leave these connections for when I get the female connectors. Alright, normally this isn't the best idea to just go ahead and start cutting stuff, but since the this harness is completely junk, I'm going to go ahead and cut it right here at the firewall connector. I got some big loppers here. I'm just going to lop around off, because all the wires that I'm cutting are in the new harness, so no harm, no foul here. Just like that. Just like that. Bam. So now, what we got here? Alright. The dash harness feeds down here behind the steering box. Oop. Come here. Come here. There we go. Suck this through there. Yeah. Alright, so now down here on the, what do you call it, the headlight switch, pull this wire down like that. And this, no, that's not good. Whole thing pulled off. There we go. Now, the headlight switch appears to be full of oil. That's great. It also, I think, comes apart somehow. Oh, just like that. Aha! So here's the inside of the headlight switch. You see the connectors there, and the rod in the steering column goes up to the steering wheel and turns it. And then this is your headlight switch here. It makes all the connections on the thing itself there. So I'll set that down. The headlight harness and the taillight harness both come into here. So I'm gonna guess. Dang it! What? You got my taillight harness here, the small harness that's still in the steering box cavity. I'm not replacing that. I'm pretty sure that the wires are okay on that, going all the way back. Like so. You leave me some wire to reconnect. Alright, so now I can pull the taillight harness out of the headlight switch like that. Now the rest of this should be free. There we go. The rest of the harness is free. Alright, cut the connector off so I could get this housing off real easy. And there we go. I'm going to save this just for reference here. But you can see the contacts where it turns around and makes contacts, all them brass connections there for the wiring. And you can see the wire was color coded at one time, just like the new harnesses. It just got super grungy. Okay, clean up my headlight switch housing. I'm going to stick the harness through, and we'll put this installed first so I can get the clip back on it because it keeps wanting to fall off the steering column. Just going to feed all these wires right through the hole, get through there. I ordered those female wire connectors, so hopefully they'll be there in a couple days and I can finish this up. That would be awesome. In the meantime, we'll go as far as we can in this video. It's like magic. Ford used this style switch all the way up to, I think, 1948 and then 49 when they had the shoe boxes come out. They changed. Alright, come here. So there we go. We got the harness slid through the housing. So there's the headlight switch. Let me go ahead and we'll get that back installed. I'm going to put just a little bit of dielectric grease on these contacts before I put it together. And then Kirk put it in there. And then you've got your headlights, these three wires, your headlights either side. And then you've got dual sets of wires. These are going to be for horns. This car is a standard, so it's only got one horn. But you got two sets of horn wires here. So I can just plug off the one wire and tape it up to the harness because I only need the one side. But that was pretty easy, and I cleaned all the grease and oil out of the switch and everything on the column too, so we'll have a nice new action to go together. Okay, got the dielectric grease on there. Let's go ahead and slide this here. Let's see, the slot and it goes down, I believe. Should go just like that. Yep, perfect. And then this comes up here. Goes like this, and there's little what do you call them? Little nubs in their indexes, and it locks it in place. And then this bracket comes up around the end of the headlight switch. I got to go underneath. It's pulled. The bracket's pulled out. Dang it! It's got a little spring clip to hold it. Here we go. Alright. Is that where this needs to be? Perfect. Alright, so now that spring clip is snapped that in there, it's nice and secure. Everything's good to go. It's held where it's got to be. Perfect. Our switch is in place, our wire's in place. We got our taillight harness here, which one of these cooks into here. I got to figure out which one does what. But let's get the engine harness. We'll push this through the firewall, the original harness. We'll push that back into the car. Get in there. Yikes. Push the grommet through because I'm going to replace that. Everything gets in there in one shot. Temperature sensor. I'm going to run my aftermarket temperature gauge through this hole. There used to be a water heater inside the car which I removed. I'm going to put a grommet in this hole. I plugged this hole already. I'm going to put a grommet here. I'm going to run my temperature sensor through this hole instead of feeding it through the factory location, just to give the wires a little bit more room to fit in there. Okay, now I can feed the dash and engine harness into the car. I went and I changed out that grungy firewall bushing, or grommet, I guess. This is a used one, and you 100-point restoration guys will notice that I've got it in backwards. It should come down to a point here, but this is a used one, and the point was all dry rotted and cracked and split. So I turned it around, I cut that off, and I put it on the inside, and I put it in here backwards to make a nice cleaner installation on the engine side. So we can feed all the wires right through it here, Kirk. And stuff all these through. Get in there. There we go. Let's see, that's the... Yep, that goes to... Uh-oh. I have to wrangle it here a little bit. There we go. Get in there. There you go. Aha. Bam. Now, this stays out here. This goes over here to the starter solenoid. Here's our oil pressure sending unit, which is right about there. I'm not sure. This might want to hang right here. And then, let's see. This is the ignition and the generator. It's the generator cut out up here, the sideways terminal. And this is the ignition wire, which will go on the ignition coil over here. These will lay on the top of the engine, so that's good. This wire needs to get fed through the steering box bracket. Let's see here, probably under the steering column. Through here. Yep. Where is it? There we go. Like that. Okay, that gives our oil pressure sending unit. That goes like that. These are the wires I hook together with the other wires, and I get my female connectors. Make all these connections down here. Just like so. I believe. I check the thing, but I believe this is the power wire. Goes together like that. And then these here are the brake and tail light. This red wire goes to here. Blue wire goes to there, and then this wire goes back. This is the gas tank sending unit, which I believe is this wire right here. It's on the taillight housing. The taillight housing wire, so that's good. I'm just going to leave that loose for now. Got this here. This just kind of floats in here. It hangs off the register in the dash. Probably should have like some kind of bracketry to hold it. Let's go ahead and hang the starter solenoid up on here. Let's see. This must be upside down. There we go. Yeah, just like that. Man, that's kind of grungy. I'm going to rattle can the top of this black. This will go here. Then the wires on the negative side, because it's negative ground. I'm sorry, negative, but it's positive ground, so the negative side here goes to the actual harness. The wires come up onto here. That goes there, that big ring terminal. And then the other wire goes over here. Okay, don't scratch the firewall. Alright. Yeah, let me paint that up real fast. I can slam that up on there, get that on, but the wiring under here is coming together good, looks good. Up here there's one 20 amp fuse. I know it's going to be hard to see because I can barely see. Let me try to get up in here. Kill me. So I got a what do you call it? A resistor, ignition resistor, which I've bypassed because I've got a higher energy coil that doesn't use a resistance into it. So I've got all the power wires off the one side of the resistor, and then you got your power coming in here. This main wire got the what do you call it? The interior lights here, which I'm going to leave disconnected because this wire is all rotten. But then the power comes in from the battery through the 20 amp fuse, and then it goes out here to the dash and stuff, and then it's also hooked to this resistor, which feeds a bunch of power to other stuff. So I'm going to go ahead first and remove the main wire feed here, which that nut was almost finger tight. That's good for it. I'm going to pull off this wire that is the dash light, or the interior light, and leave that loose. Here's our main feed. Looks like we've also got a wire going to, what's this? Off here, that goes over here to the cigarette lighter. And I know I don't have a new cigarette light wire, and that is super crunchy. So I'm going to eliminate that too. I'm just going to, this car is never going to have a functional cigarette lighter for now. This wire is completely shot. I can hear it crunching around in here. It's bad. So I'm just going to cut this off the back of the cigarette lighter, and I can add a new wire later. So I'll leave that hanging down out of the way. So our new harness here is going to come through. Where is our main power wire? I got to get the diagram here to make sure I do the right action. Alright, I got my instructions. The red wire is the ignition resistor wire. So I'm bypassing that. I went right to the far side of the resistor because I'm not using the resistor with my coil I'm using. So that's all jumpered together like it was. And then the blue and green and the black and red, they go onto that terminal as well. And then you'll see, I don't know if you can make it out, but this orange wire here, it's got a fuse on it in the shadow here. This runs my electric 12 volt or 6 volt electric fuel pump down on the frame rail with a separate fuse. I've got that powered off that terminal on the resistor as well. So everything is put back how it should be. This wire here, the crunchy one, is the back of the wire that goes through the amp gauge. And that's this long yellow wire here. It slips through the back of the gauge. There's a bracket that goes around it, and it picks up the amperage that way. So I've got to hook that up. That goes on the outside of the fuse as well, once that gets run over to the dash. So I've got all that hooked up there as far as I can do right this second. Now I've got to come around and get where you guys are at, and we're going to switch sides, and I got to get up into the ignition switch here on the column over here, and then I got to get to the dash hookup, which is going to be a treat because I can barely fit under here now. Here's just a better shot what I did there. Got up there on the fuse block and the resistor wire, and I stuck the hose for the vacuum wipers back through the grommet, and the wire over there is the one for the dome light, which I disconnected. So on this side you can see the temperature gauge here. I've taken the Bernoulli tube and rolled it up all the way. I'm going to zip tie this up under the dash when I get done. Since the gauge is broken here, here is the stock temperature gauge. It would have a red line that would come up here, and it is broken, and they're like almost $200 to replace it. So I replaced it with a cheap tractor temperature gauge that's going to hang on a little panel right here below the dash for me to look at. That was about $22, so that saved me some money, and somebody else can put in the $200 one. If I find one later, maybe I'll do it, but in the meantime, I've just got to go and get the rest of the harness over here. This is the harness here. I got to do the ignition switch here, which is the on and off switch for the ignition, and then it's got a couple of dash wires up here. You got the fuel gauge, the oil pressure, the oil pressure gauge, which is also electrical. Then you got the amp gauge over here, and then there's a dash light switch. Where is it? Dash light switch here. It's got a wire going to it, and then the starter button over here. So it's going to be pretty tight for me to try to film and get up under there. So I'm going to struggle, get the rest of these wires hooked up, and then I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, right, I'm upside down under the dash here. I got everything wired in. Here's the ignition switch wires here. And I got the wires up on the back of the gauges. This is the fat wire here, is the amp gauge wire. Goes through there, you see a little bracket. So it picks up the amperage. And it goes back over here to the terminal block. I got the wire, the dash lights hooked into the dash light switch right here, which pulls out here. And then the this wire here is my cigarette dispenser I just got. That's just for looks. But everything is hooked up. New black wire for the starter switch here. Everything under the hood is ready, or under the dash is all hooked up, ready to go. And once those female connectors come in under the hood, I can put all that together. But we're good to go here under the dash. The car's been rewired with these two main harnesses up here, so it's safe and won't be having a fire. So bam, that's a win. Gotta carefully remove my 37 only, the 37 early 38 only headlight lenses. These are original ones from Ford. I'll show you how I know that in a second. Here, it's got a little screw at the bottom of the trim ring, and then trim ring will come off and the lens will come out. Oh, here we go, careful. Aha! Ooh, that's got a pretty old gasket on there. I don't have any new gaskets, so I have to maintain this the best I can. But this is a Ford lens right here. It says Ford on it. There we go. Should be able to pull the reflector and the harness out. I think. Why is this fighting me? But as you can see, this isn't a sealed beam headlight like you're used to on modern cars. This says reflector, and this uses a 6-volt lamp. And this is a parking light, and this is all 6-volt action. Okay, got the reflector out. The wires are just like crunchy and stuck. Stick that in there for a second. Here's our new harness. Ooh, all 3 wires are black. That's not very helpful. Which one is the marker light? That one's the marker light, okay. And then I don't know which one's supposed to be high beam and which one's supposed to be low beam. And I don't know how this goes. It retains itself to the fixture itself. Well, that's cool. It's got a little twist features, little indentations. You twist the socket and it comes out. Do I have to do that like this somehow? Well, I gotta fight with this to get this thing out. These little slots turn and the lamp comes out. I gotta fight with it. Alright, so this is turning horrendous. These light harnesses I bought, the CW Moss, where I got the rest of the harness, they didn't have these. They're out of stock or something, so I bought these at another place, and I can't remember where, but they're like cheap garbage. I've already broken one tab trying to get to work. I put it in the socket. The spring doesn't even retain it loose. It's junk, it's garbage. So I'm going to cut the harness out of this and splice onto this old original harness. I determined which colors are which, even though they're super faded. And I'm going to have to splice this harness on, because none of the little marker light socket doesn't even hardly fit right. The whole thing is garbage. Super disappointed. They was like 30 bucks for the pair of these, and they're junk, beyond belief junk. So I'm going to have to splice it together to the existing wiring and tape it up the best I can and hope for the best. I also broke my 6-volt lamp trying to get it out, so I got to get a new 6-volt lamp. I'll probably have to get 2 new headlight lamps just because. So that was fun. Let's turned into a nightmare. But this marker light housing doesn't fit it all in there. You go in, it's supposed to push it in and out easily. It doesn't, and it twists and it locks. It doesn't fit. These are offshore garbage. So I'm just going to try to splice it together the best I can. Well, to save you guys the gory details, after about 45 minutes of monkeying around, I spliced those harnesses on the back of both these headlight sockets. I had to go about an inch away from the original socket where the insulation was semi-okay, and butt connected on and taped the whole thing up good and stuck them back in there. So I've got them up here ready to connect to the new headlight harness. Those pigtails are so garbage. Even the little connectors where you go to where the double female is going to go on, 2 of those pulled off, so I had to re-terminate that. Those things are complete garbage, made in Taiwan junk. So I think I got it. So it's going to be marginal now to work, at least better. At least it's got new wire in it. I've got to get a new headlight lamp for this side. I'll probably get a pair of them. I know they both worked originally, but the bulb is loose in the socket on this one. So I'm going to get 2 new 6-volt headlight lamps and put in here for when I get ready to go. But that was kind of a bummer. I was going so good with all the rest of the wiring harness, then end out on a crappy note like that was a bummer. But I got it. So I ordered my double female connectors for all the things, all the harnesses in the whole car. And all I've got to do is get those connectors and put the things together. And the wiring will be all fixed up. I think I'm about ready to drop the engine back in the car now. So that'll be coming up maybe next video. We'll see. But the 37 Ford, it's going along. And we're putting things back together. Can't wait to get this thing running with a flathead. So until then, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. Hit the bell for alerts. And I'll see you right here again. Bam. Working with junk at the Quick Speed Shop.